family table. We gather around to discuss the values, traditions, and experiences that strengthen our family bonds. I'm Matthew Efird, and in each episode, I speak with parents, caregivers, and family experts about the joys and challenges of family life. We'll share stories, advice, and insights that will help you build a loving and resilient family. Pull up a chair, join us as a family table, where every conversation brings us closer together. So again, this is going to be the flow of the podcast. Be able to bring on experts here and ask some of these interview questions. Starting off, can you tell us about your family and the role you play in it? So my name's Matthew. Beautiful wife and I have been married 10 years. We were high school sweethearts. We dated through college and then got married after college. And we have 4 boys. We have a 6.5-year-old son, Walker. Noah would have been 4. Abel is 3.5, and Warren is 1.5. And some sense of God's humor. Walker's birthday is February 22nd. Abel's birthday is February 25th, and Warren's birthday is February 26th. No, that was not planned. We actually tried to not do that, but it is what it is. Hannah stays home with the boys. She taught as a first grade teacher before we had Walker. And since then, she has stayed home, made the sacrifice to stay home with him. And as our subsequent children, she also homeschools Walker, which is really cool. And then I work outside of the home. So I have an office here at the house that I'm doing this podcast in, but I also have an office here in Jefferson and have a few businesses that we run. What is your favorite family memory or tradition? We're doing a few things that, with our family being young, right? I mean, traditions are really easy, quote unquote, to start. So we're working on a couple of things that we're excited about. One is we do a monthly movie night as a family, put air mattress up or the Nugget, which is a little comforter styrofoam thing the boys play on, climb on, jump on. We set that up in the living room and we watch a family-friendly movie, typically have some popcorn, and it's really a lot of fun. All of us do that together. Love doing that. Also on Tuesday nights, we rotate through with the boys. Warren's not doing it yet, just at his age, but we do special time with them once the other boys are down. And that's been a really fun thing. We got that from advice from another friend of ours who's doing that. They have 6 children. And just a fun way to do something easy. It's 15 minutes. Let them pick what they want to do. We can play a game. We can read a book. We can draw. We can wrestle. We can watch a show. It's up to them. It's their special time. They get to pick. So that's been really fun too. And then lastly, camping. We've gotten into camping as a family. I'll probably do some of these podcasts from our camper, which is fun. But it's been really, really fun to be able to get out as a family and go and enjoy God's creation. What are core values are most important in your family, and how do you instill them in your kids? We have several. Hannah's probably better at these than I am with saying them offhand. Kind of our family slogan is "Even though we will." That was something that we picked up during Noah's life, that even though we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, we will fear no evil, that we will continue to move forward as a family. So that's been something that we've rallied around as a family. We also are trying to instill in our boys that they will respect their mother. That's a big deal. They can be aggressive with me. They can play with me hard. They can be disrespectful to me. But the serious consequences in their life, which are the consequences they have, are around being disrespectful to their mom, to mommy. And so we're really focusing on those as a kind of cornerstone, trying to help define. We're in the coaching years with our boys, and really trying to come alongside them and remind them a lot, but remind them that nope, that response is disrespectful. Here's why. Here's a better response. Let's try that again. Really trying to help coach them into a better attitude and better response in the way that they can interact specifically with their mom. What's been the most rewarding aspect of raising a family? Oh, I love to see several things. I love to see Hannah as a mom. It's very sweet. I love to see the tenderness that she has. Um, she just has a way about seeing people and a love for people that I admire a lot. And I love to see her as a mom and as that's more come out in her. It's been really cool. Um, it is very fun, my boys wanting to spend time with me and choosing to do things with me that they enjoy and I enjoy. And that's been very fun to be able to teach them things that I enjoy, like fishing, camping, riding bikes, swimming, building fires, exploring, finding bugs. That's been very, very cool to see them kind of get grafted into what I enjoy doing, but then also being open to what they enjoy and trying to be cognizant of that. So that's been fun. What are some ways you teach your children about responsibility and independence? Oh, we are working on that a lot with the older boys. Um, we are working around what our family does. So, kind of back to one of the core value questions, we say in our family we help each other, and that's a big deal for us. That we want to be helpful. That if someone asks us for help, that we do everything we can to help them. And so we have specific things the boys do to help clean up after dinner, after meals, putting dishes away. For Walker, it's actually washing the dish off, putting it in the dishwasher, throwing trash away. Abel, it's throwing trash away and putting his dish by the sink or in the sink, um, helping clean up the floor, using the vacuum, wiping down the table, picking up toys, um, for bringing in groceries. It's many things. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get them involved in the things that it takes to run our family, the things that we do day in and day out. That as many of those as we can bring them into, the better. It takes patience. It's not always great. We definitely don't always do it great, specifically myself, but something we're trying to do and trying to learn to show them that food doesn't just magically appear on their plate, that it takes time, that their bed doesn't just magically get made or change if they, pee in their sheets, that we're really trying to invest time in showing them the things that we do as a family and how we can help each other. Tell us a practical way that you maintain strong relationships within your family, both with your spouse and your children. So, or take the spouse first. Hannah and I have a date night, and we try to, on some sort of rhythm, we've done it better at times than others, that we actually try to get out of the house. We don't do that weekly. It's very expensive to get out of the house weekly, but we do have a set aside time during the week that we protect and we spend time together. So maybe it's watching a movie, watching a show. We've got questions that we go through. We have a covenant group at church that we go through the soul care 4Ds, discoveries, determinations, delights, and drains. And so Hannah and I actually go through that as a couple, and we share that with each other. Just, hey, what's something this week that's been draining you? What's something that's been filling you up? What is something you're delighting in? What's something you've discovered this week or this past month? And what are you determined to do about it? How can I help you? That's been really good for us. That's a pretty practical way that we engage between the date night and then going through the 4Ds. And then with our kids, it's I've always heard kids spell love time, just time. And so we're aggressively trying to schedule our time where we have time with our boys and investing time in them. So we don't have a lot of activities that we do that with young kids. We don't have I don't have any hobbies outside of work. I play golf occasionally during the day. We don't play on the weekends. We really try to invest the time that we have with them. So if you take Walker, for instance, Walker's almost 7. That if I'm lucky, I have 11 more years to invest in him. As he gets later in teenage years, that investment's going to be down. So let's call it maybe 7 to 8 years. So I'm looking at potentially halfway through the investment that I get in him while he's home. That's a very sobering thought. And I really need to steward my time well. When the boys are out of the house, it's fine for us to be in a pickleball league or weight training, weightlifting meets. I mean, there's all sorts of activities that we would love to do, travel that we would love to do, clubs that we would love to be a part of. And we're just choosing to not and choosing to spend time investing into our children. So, um, spending time with them is helping with those bonds. We don't always do it perfect by any standpoint. And I definitely get rushed at times, um, get agitated at times. I have a hard time turning off from work. And so I'm really trying to do a better job of that. But really, that's a kind of a practical way that we're investing in them. How do you celebrate milestones and achievements within your family? We love milestones. We love achievements. Um, we haven't had a ton of those outside of potty training. That's probably been a big one. As Walker learns to read, it's reading. Um, we're trying to find the things that encourage or each specific son, each specific boy. Walker loves gifts. He loves to get gifts and he loves to give gifts. That's one of his main love languages. Abel doesn't really care. So Abel's all about physical touch, like me, and all about quality time, like me. And so we're trying to do things like that. We always do a big celebration for their birthdays, specifically with them being so close together. And it's got a lot of specific things that we bring out in terms of a plate and um, banners and balloons and all that to try to specifically encourage each one of our sons on their specific day. But as they do things within school or within the home life, as they're making these kind of milestones, we are seeking to find ways to celebrate them as individuals, not just as, hey, this is how we celebrate our family. But one thing that we want to do better of is strategically plan the book that we read last spring in our small group or last summer in our small group was all about this, all about milestones and specifically setting them up to be able to celebrate them as they hit certain milestones. So we are in the process of doing that, and I'll look forward to hearing other folks' answers on this podcast of additional ideas. Share with us a challenge your family's faced and how you all overcame it. Um, the passing of Noah obviously was a huge challenge for us, and we are still seeking to move forward from that, kind of overcome the absence of him. Um, that's definitely impacted our family. Walker was here when Noah was, and so Abel and Warren didn't get to meet him. They haven't met him on this side of heaven, but we do talk about him. We do share about him. We share about how we're sad that we're missing him, and that it's okay to be sad. So we are doing some of those things with Noah's life. That obviously that was very hard circumstance for us, and that's been a big challenge. So that's kind of helped guide our family focus of let's spend time together, let's invest together, let's be together, and let's also talk. Let's not just bottle things up. Let's try to learn to talk and share with one another. How do you navigate investing your time between the demands of work and family life? So I love this question specifically around most people will ask this, how do you balance life? How do you find a work life balance? And I just think that's a myth. I really do. There's a great book by Andy Stanley called Choosing to Cheat. It's the idea that anywhere that you are, you're investing your time there and you're choosing to cheat somewhere else. And so by prioritizing your time, you're able to invest well there. And then when you leave, you're able to move on from it. As a business owner, feels like you're kind of always on. Well, I've done that. I fall into that trap sometimes, but most of the time, if I will structure my time well, if I will be a good steward of scheduling my time and hold to that schedule, I do have time to invest in my family. And so for me, the way I invest my time is, as I said earlier, I don't have hobbies. I don't play video games. Um, I don't go downtown. I don't go on a lot of guys' trips. I just don't do that. I don't spend my time that way because I have my investment at home and I have my investment at work. I'm not belittling those things. That's just the way I've chosen to spend my time. It frees me up to have more time with my family, to have more time to invest in the things at work that I want to do. And then by delegating out the things I don't want to do, trying to get better at that. How do you approach difficult conversations with your children, such as topics like discipline, values, or big life changes? So some of this we haven't reached with our boys. Some of this with Walker and with Abel, just big emotions. I remember it's probably 6 months to a year ago, sitting down in Walker's room and he'd gotten really mad over something. And it was just big emotions in him. And he was trying to process it. And I remember going and sitting in his room and he was mad and he was not wanting me in there. And I said, buddy, I'm not going to leave. I'm here. I'm here for you. And I just shared with him, I get angry. Dad gets angry. And I want you to know it's okay. It's okay to be angry. But what we do with that anger, it makes it right or wrong. And so we don't want to be disrespectful. We don't want to hit someone. We don't want to hit things. Let's talk about it. And so I just shared with him, here's how I process anger. Here's some tactical things, here's some practical things that I do to physically release that tension that anger causes inside of you that makes you want to just slam something or hit something. And it was a great conversation with him. I've had it what feels like many times since then. But again, I'm in the coaching years with my boys. And so repetition is important. So that's typically how we try to approach it on a practical level. I try to get down on their level. I try to take a deep breath myself. I try to go in it not rushed. I try to go in it not angry, because if I'm angry, if I'm rushed, if I'm frustrated, it's not going to be a good conversation. We're not going to get the most out of that conversation. But if I'm able to go in it with a cooler head, having prayed, having taken a breath, having released the tension inside of my body, we're able to have a lot better conversation across the board. Now, is that always practical? Of course not. But a quick prayer like, Lord, help me, is very practical. Definitely have time to be able to do that. What is a book that has deeply informed the way you are as a parent or as a spouse? Hmm. I know one for me as a parent is one that originally informed me a lot as a spouse, which was The Five Love Languages. It's by Gary Chapman. It's a fantastic book on relationships and how people give and receive love, how they feel connected. Everyone's unique in that. And I'm finding just as my boys grow that they're very unique in that. And so trying to tailor the way that I invest my time with them towards each one of those has been really good. And then as a spouse, my number one book I always recommend to anyone getting engaged or married or has been married for as many years as many years you want to be is Love and Respect by Eckridge. It is absolutely hands down the best marriage book I've ever read. I like studying the topic of marriage. I like reading a lot. It is by far the absolute best. If you're looking for practical steps of how to understand your spouse and how to connect and serve with them better, if you're looking for a book about the totality of marriage, as well as what scripture says about marriage, how God designed marriage, The Meaning of Marriage by Tim Keller. Those two books are fantastic. If you could speak to every new parent before they left the hospital with their newborn, what piece of advice would you share with them? Love this question. And the reason I love this question is, man, we made so many mistakes. And the more people I talk to, the more folks that I talk to that have multiple children, I see a repetitive nature of allowing more grace to be extended to your kids, to try to be that the natural inclination and the natural response is to not always say no and to extend grace and mercy first instead of just discipline. And that's something I'm learning. That's something I'm trying to grow in. But man, I would really encourage the parents to say that and encourage them in that. And then I would give the same piece of advice that my doctor gave me is your wife will return. You're going to feel like you potentially came home with the wrong spouse. You did not. You need to be patient. You need to be loving, and you need to give her time. Those are probably the two biggest pieces of advice that I would give. Outside of passing along your faith, what's one piece of wisdom or tradition you hope to pass down to future generations in your family? One thing that I focus on a lot with the boys is that we take ownership of our actions. That's something that I would love a kind of a piece of wisdom or tradition, just a staple point in our life is that we take ownership of the actions that we have and the actions and the things that we do, and that every action has a consequence. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, some of them are none, but every single action has some kind of outcome to it. And so we want to be good stewards of the actions that we do. We want to be thoughtful. We want to be measured in our approach and the way that we connect with people. And then probably second to that is just a genuine love for people. I would love for our family to be marked that the Efird family and the extended family outside of the Efird family tree is that they are a family marked with love, that they truly love people and they love them well. And then last question, what advice would you give to yourself 10 years ago? Be willing to get up earlier to be able to have more time in the afternoons with Hannah and then with the boys instead of trying to sleep in and then working later in the afternoons. I've just found, Ben Franklin, early bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. And that's really something that I've tried to learn and grow in is that if I can get up at a decent time, that I can have my personal quiet time. I can get stuff ready for the boys to help Hannah. I can have between an hour and 2 or 2.5 hours to work on the core things I need to do that day. And that has been really helpful for me to free up my afternoons, that I can be much, much, much more present and engaged. That's probably the advice that I would love to have known 10 years ago as we were getting married. Thank you so much for joining the family table. This is kind of the flow of the way the conversations are going to go. Obviously, interviewing myself, there's not a lot of tangents that I go off on, but we will be going off on those as we have folks come in. This will be pastors, ministers, lay people, counselors, family life specialists. The sky's the limit for folks that want to be able to share around the family table. and we want to have chairs, and we will be able to pull them up and invite them to come and to share their wisdom with us. So thank you so much for joining us. God bless, and we'll see you soon.